We are going to diverge for this section into a serious look at what teachers actually do when they teach. When we teach, we work in concepts. Learners must grasp foundational concepts before we can help them build new knowledge. This section is heavily theoretical, but may have some new insights for you in the way that we acquire concepts and how conceptual learning occurs. What is a concept? There are many opinions in the literature, but most share consistent themes in their definitions of concepts. Most agree it is a general idea or a notion. Most also agree that an idea of something formed by mentally combining all of that idea's characteristics or particulars is a concept. It is a construct of many different things. And third, a directly conceived or intuited object of thought is also considered to be a concept. It gets a bit more interesting here. Sometimes concepts are our experiences organized to fit categories. But ultimately, concepts become larger networks of intellectual relationships through connections that we make to other knowledge. As you can see, even defining concepts is a complex cognitive process. Now, let's look at this from another perspective. What is a concept not? In recent research, it was found that many teachers confused processes with concepts. Notice that a process is a series of steps to get to some desired result. A concept is not a process, but rather it is a foundation of a process. It's a bit hard to wrap your mind around thinking this way, but to reach learners with limited English proficiency, we have to tease apart all of the ramifications of the idea of concept. Recall that we said a concept is an idea of something formed by mentally combining all its characteristics or particulars, that it was a construct. Think of Legos in a pile. There are distinct blocks, but they are not yet connected to anything else. Thoughts, especially random thoughts, are very much like a pile of building blocks. Those elements have form, shape, but not substance or foundation knowledge in the academic sense. They must be joined into a coherent, meaningful pattern to become a conceptual structure. This is the foundation for that ubiquitous term in education we often hear, meaningful learning. When viewed from a constructivist, cognitive perspective, meaningful learning is just that, a synthesis of ideas that makes meaning and connections for the learner. Thinkers and philosophers have tried to define conceptual structures for millennia. More than a century of current study has discovered some consistent patterns in the way people form concepts and later conceptual structures. A concept must come before the conceptual structure can be created. We know that concept formation is a lifelong endeavor. Think about how you build your own concepts and ideas and opinions. Where do these things come from? Perhaps it is from the media, or your own reading and study, or perhaps from personal experiences. The point is, we all develop concepts differently, but when we are talking about building deliberate academic concepts, we have to be more precise in the methods we use to achieve our goal of long-term student learning. There are some basic theories that we can use in the classroom to help us connect our learners' prior knowledge to the new academic information we want them to have. Another way of looking at concept formation is through use of prototypes, which are simply your best onboard mental representation of a given category or class. The first thing the human brain tends to do when it encounters something new is to quickly search onboard memory for previous information. Remember, the default process in our brains is to categorize. We try to push new ideas into comfortable old categories. For example, when you first think bird, your default memory is a prototype of a flying figure, but your mind quickly fills in details of birds you have encountered many times. Think bird! What pops into your mind? Is it a robin, a cardinal, or perhaps an eagle? There is some type of bird that your mind sees as a category representative. From there, you can begin to explore a new bird. You have already connected it to a familiar category. Interesting. that this theory postulates that people do not discover rules, but rather construct mental prototypes. Research suggests that most real-world concepts are constructed by prototypes rather than rules. When we build on prototypes, we are actually connecting to prior knowledge. But you know very well that all children have different knowledge bases and experiences. This is the point in a concept build when we guide prototypes into a new format to help learners connect to new ideas. Sounds like a lot of edu-babble, does it not? But it forms an important layer of a concept build. Did you ever wonder what makes a bird a bird? Children try to find implicit roles by making guesses until they think they have a target concept. Underlying rules in these concepts are called defining features, the set of attributes necessary and sufficient to define a concept. Let's look at this for a moment. Rule theory is another way of looking at how children form concepts. Rule theory is sometimes referred to as defining features theory. Remember that our brains like order. We do not like cognitive dissonance. Our brain is hardwired to categorize. If we can fit something new into a prior schema, our brain is happy. We know the defining features. We know the rules. Children mentally search for prior knowledge to find implicit rules in a new idea. Those rules are the defining features or the attributes that are necessary to define a concept. Think about why we do not define a platypus as a dog. So what makes a bird a bird? What attributes belong to bird? What is the rule for bird? It'll do. In rule theory, the critical attributes must be present in a particular sequence, relationship, or pattern to qualify for category placement. We have rules or attributes for birds. We have rules for dogs. We have a hard time figuring out what rules are attributes of platypus because they may look like a dog, but they lay eggs. Laying eggs is not a rule for dogs. The specific ordering of attributes is known as the concept definition or rule. According to rule theory, in order to be bird or dog, there are specific attributes that comprise the concept definition or rule.